Welcome to the TPU podcast, the podcast where we highlight educators who have decided to mind their own business. I'm your host, Jake Scott. Stay tuned for another great highlight of some of the greatest minds in our nation. Welcome to the Teacherpreneur podcast. I have a very special guest. He is an educator that I had the pleasure of teaching with at Cardozo Education Campus in Washington, D.C. Brilliant gentleman. But what I also learned about him is that he is an entrepreneur doing great things in the stock market. Please help me to welcome to the Teacherpreneurs Union podcast, Dr. AndreMuhammad.
Oh, well, thank you, Brother Jake, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, great. I hope that you're doing well, all things considered. And I want to start off by talking about what is most important, in my opinion, is the fact that you are an educator. And can you tell us about your origins as an educator? How did you make the decision to become an educator? Where were you educated? How did it all come about?
Well, first and foremost, I have to say that my parents were actually educators. My mother had actually been an educator in Washington, D.C. herself. And my father actually taught throughout the D.C. area. And so as a result of having that, background, that really led me into the field of education. Now, when I went to school, I wanted to do business, but my parents kept telling me, make sure you take some of those education courses.
Wow.
And at the time, it was funny because I didn't really appreciate what it was that they were saying. But there did come a time when I actually, took them up on that information. And, when I went for my master's degree, that's when I made sure that I did education as a major.
Excellent. Now you not only earned a bachelor's and a master's, but you made the decision to pursue a doctorate. That's huge. That's top 5%. Mm-hmm. What gave you the confidence to do that? Was it people standing over you suggesting that you could do that, or was it something that you had inside that said, you know what, I want to go ahead and pursue a doctorate?
Actually, Jake, there were no other folks in my particular family that had a doctorate. So it was brand new land, so to speak, for me, right?
Yes.
But I would have to say that it was the Million Man March really that caused me to become motivated to do that. Because I can remember, Minister Louis Farrakhan at that time saying, he wanted the young men to go back into their communities and make a difference. I felt like the only way that I could really, have an impact was to go and teach. I felt like that was a gift of mine. And again, with my parents being educators, I felt like it was just something that was innate.
Now, a quick question. You said you felt like it was a gift of yours. What made you feel like that was a gift? I mean, did you have an exchange with someone? Did you feel like you were just drawn to young people? What made you feel that?
I've always been a person that I enjoy, first and foremost, gaining access to information, right? And I love conveying it, the information that I would gather, I would try to convey that to others. And in doing that, I noticed that I could capture the attention of folks. And so, when I started teaching, working with the youth, I also noticed that, I could also catch their attention as well. So then I realized after a few years, this profession is really for me.
Both your parents were educators. Did they go beyond bachelor's level or what?
Yeah, so my mother only had a bachelor's. My father went on to get a master's degree.
Okay, excellent. And how did you pay for that? I mean, I mean, I don't know if times were different back then. Did you come out of pocket for that? Because, you know, education has changed a lot in the last 10, 15 years. It's truly become a business, bro. Like they just gouge people and leave you for broke. What was your experience financially as you pursued your doctorate?
Well, actually, I actually paid for it out of my pocket.
Okay.
I didn't have any. Well, actually, I will say that a couple of the school districts that I was working for, because at one point I was working in Prince George's County public schools, and I believe they had a program where they paid for a portion of it. And then I went to Fairfax County Public Schools at one point, and they paid for a portion of my coursework. So outside of that, it was just, you know, me coming out of my pocket.
I'm sure that there's someone who will listen to this podcast who is considering pursuing a master's or doctorate. What advice would you have for them?
So, you know, one of the things I would just say is just make sure that, you know, this is something that you want to do.
Okay.
You know, that's the key thing. Because, you know, no matter what you pursue, as far as a major, you want to make sure that you really have a profound love for that.
Now, what was your why?
Times.
You know, I mean, a lot of times the thing that keeps people wanting to do, there has to be a why. Like, was there I mean, some people, it could be financial. Like, okay, I know if I get a master's degree, I mean, I remember when I was teaching in Montgomery County, I looked at the pay scale and I said, whoa, I mean, if I don't get a master's, you know, I'm gonna max out at $60,000.
Right.
So for me, that became my why. What was there a different something other than financial that came into play?
For me wanting to go for a master's?
Yes.
Or a doctorate?
Or a doctorate, yes.
Yeah, I think the key thing was that working on a doctorate, it would allow me to be able to teach at all levels. You know, one of the things I can recall was the fact that, you know, I taught at a middle school level, I taught at a high school level. You know, receiving my doctorate allowed me to be able to teach at some of the local colleges and universities in the area. Okay. So, you know, I went back and I taught at, you know, College of Southern Maryland and also at Bowie State University.
Right. Okay. I got you. When did you take action on pursuit of business?
So the business was my first actual college, Jake, was North Carolina A&T State University.
Yes.
And there, that was my major. It was business. When I transferred from there after a year back to Bowie State University, that was where I pursued business again. And I actually basically got a minor there. Okay. Decided to change my major in my senior year, actually. So, you know, it was mostly business up until then.
Okay. But and when did you put that into practice though? When did you start? What was your first venture, if you will?
So my first venture was actually a recording label. Okay. I started a record business back when I was like in college.
Okay. And so that was even before you were teaching.
That's right. And I would say that was probably my first actual real business.
Okay. Okay. And tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, so, you know, when I was in college, of course, I became, you know, interested in the rap field. And it was so many of us at that generation.
So you were in the rap game. So did you have a moniker? What was your name in the rap game?
Oh, no, we don't want to go there. We don't want to go there.
Okay, I mean, you know, I'm Mr. Tupai, right?
Yeah, but I would say that I had an opportunity to perform with a few big names. Okay, but I'm going to keep my names under wrap for right now, just because there was a different world. But I will say that the name of my record company was Third Eye Recordings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Mm-hmm. Excellent. And so fast forward to when I met you at Cardozo, I remember you and I struck up a conversation. We spoke about, we both had Mercedes. You saw my S430, and I think that was the conversation piece.
Right.
Because you said, oh, S430, okay. And so you had an S5, and so we started talking, and you first asked me about real estate, I believe.
Right.
I think that was the beginning of the conversation. We talked about real estate, and also it intermingled with stocks. Now, real estate is my wheelhouse. I mean, I started investing in real estate back in 2000, but stocks, I put some money in, and at that time, I had money on Chipotle.
Right.
Chipotle was trading at about 300, 700.
I think it was like in the 4s or 5s at that time.
You know, when I first got into it, it was at 6.
Okay.
Then it dropped.
Right.
There were 2 major drops because people,
that's right.
They were like salmonella or some situation, and so it dropped down to 3. So I was like, you know what, I'm coming out of this stuff, man. So I took a loss.
Right.
And I remember you talking to me about Chipotle. You said, well, why did you put your money on that? And I'm like, well, because I like Chipotle, you know, but I like the food.
Right.
But I had no idea that there was a whole different world out there as it relates to stocks when it comes to analyzing the charts. And so you've made several attempts to educate me on that stuff. But now you've even taken it to another level where you are educating others. Tell us about Market Fiend TV.
Yeah, well, Market Fiend TV, Jake, is a creation that serves several purposes, actually. The first purpose is that it is to strategies on how to navigate the stock market, right? Whether you are looking at it from a standpoint of being an investor, you know, whether you're looking at it from the point of controlling your own retirement account, and that's what we're really big on. I'm trying to urge my community, actually, to learn how to control their retirement accounts. Many people say they leave it to the professionals and what have you, and that's fine. You know, a lot of the funds that people invest in, those are already controlled by professionals, right?
Yes.
But, you know, the person that they have as their advisor is not checking up on their account and will not tell them, hey, you know, these technicals are looking bad. There's a chance that we could sell off here. You might want to, you know, consider making some moves here. It will not do that. And as a result, there are countless people right now in the midst of this coronavirus that are losing big time.
Yes.
You know, here recently, Jake, I just had a few people join my organization because they've seen my post on Facebook where I constantly told them, and I actually warned them back in February, actually back in January, that it looked like we were topping out in the market. And that was, of course, before they even mentioned a coronavirus.
Yeah, I would imagine that most people's experience with the stock market is probably similar to mine, where they said, okay, you just put the money in, you buy something, and then once you see yourself getting smacked around, you kind of just either abandon it altogether or you hire someone else.
Right.
And you mentioned like brokers or the individual that you interact with. And I think that's an interesting point. That person that you're interacting with is most likely not analyzing charts. There's someone else that's managing the funds. That person is just taking your money.
That person is there to get you in,
right,
and enroll you.
Right.
And then after that, you know, they may send you some emails here and there, maybe send you something on your birthday. But as far as taking a look at your account, taking the time out to sit down with you and talk about your holdings, it's not happening.
And they're not even necessarily analyzing the charts. They're not making the calls for the company.
They're not.
They're not calling the shots. It's some other guy.
It's a fund manager that's doing that.
So with Market Fiend TV, what I hear you saying is that people can actually interact with you. You are the face of the company and the guy who is, you know, looking at charts. Now, do you have opportunities for people to invest their money with you?
So the way it works is that I encourage all of the subscribers to get their own investment accounts.
Okay.
We have some that are they have their own investment accounts, of course. Some that are really working with their retirement accounts. A lot of people don't
Okay.
know this, but you can pretty much be very active with your retirement accounts. You
And
know,
most people don't know that.
most people don't
And
do not know
and
that.
to be honest with you, Doc, most people don't care to know that. Like that, they're like, look, I don't know. I may that guy who I interacted with may be dumb, but I'm
Right.
dumber.
Right.
So what it sounds like you're saying is that you're not telling people. Market Fiend TV isn't saying come eat. It's saying come. Let me teach you how to fish.
That's correct. We
Okay.
study pretty much the charts of 4 major ETFs.
So you
That
actually teach people, the common everyday person, how to read charts,
right,
read the market,
right.
anticipate what's coming. And do you only put money in? Do you only buy stocks, or do you short stocks? Or
So what we do is we study 4 ETFs.
okay,
That being the SPY, which is the proxy for the S&P 500.
yes,
We take a look at the triple Qs, which is the proxy for the NASDAQ 100. We look at the TLT, which is the 20-year bond. And we also look at what is called the GLD, the ETF for gold. And so by analyzing those 4 charts on a daily basis, you know, all of the subscribers are up on what's happening in the markets. Each and every evening, I do a video that's related to what took place in the stock market, where we actually discuss levels in the market. We discuss trends, whether they be bearish trends, whether they be bullish trends. I also provide research in the sense of there's a particular indicator that I developed called the market theme indicator. And with that indicator, I use that and analyze those 4 ETFs on a daily basis so that they can make good choices based on, their own due diligence, of course, but they can make good decisions based on the research that Market Fiend TV provides them as well.
okay. Now let me ask you this question. Right now, the market is plummeting.
Right.
And most people are saying this is a good time to buy, with the anticipation of earning money 5 years from now, 4 years from now. However, you made a recent post where you said that you just made X number of dollars. How did you do that while the market is going down?
So a part of what we also do at Market Fiend Television is we teach folks how to use the strategy of options.
Okay.
Okay. And so with options, what we do is we teach people how to make money, whether the market is going up, whether the market is going down, and also whether the market is going sideways, because we teach how to make money in any type of environment in the stock market.
Now that's huge, because when you mention shorting a stock or options, those are some terms that people, the average person isn't familiar with.
Right.
I've heard you speak about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go through that in your Market Fiend TV? Is there a class?
Yes. So Market Fiend TV, we hold positions, and basically there is a portfolio that I actually have. Now, again, I am no dealer broker, and I'm no certified financial. What I do is I tell them I provide them with research and education.
Okay.
So with the Market Fiend indicator, it provides them with a piece of information about what's going on in the market that they may not have. And what the Market Fiend indicator does is it actually takes a look at the buying and selling pressure within the market. Okay. So what we do is those stocks that have significant selling pressure, we short them, meaning that we make money as the market goes down. Those stocks that have...
Okay, let me interrupt you for a second. So shorting, what is that?
And that's when you actually sell a stock to someone at a higher price with the hopes that you can buy it back at a lower price when it goes off. And you capture the difference between what you sold it for and then what you buy it back.
So you're actually selling it. You're selling it in
You're
advance.
actually selling it before you own it. That's right.
I got you. So when you're shorting a stock, you're selling. You're getting a contract for some. Okay, you're finding someone who wants to buy it for $10, right? And you sell it to them for $10, and then you go and find it for $5.
Yeah, well, when it drops to $5, that's when you buy it back, and you capture the difference between $10 and $5.
I got you. I got you. I got you. Yeah. So that's a lot. Those are. I can see how the average individual will be intimidated by that. I'm glad to hear that there are people who are taking advantage of your knowledge and education that you're making available for them. How can someone join? What is it? Is it join or subscribe? What is it exactly?
Yeah, it's subscribe. So we have a membership. It is a $49.95 per month.
Okay.
And Jake, let me explain what that does for you. You're going to get the daily videos.
Okay.
There are also weekend videos where I do particular key levels in the market. I provide the members with customized charts that they'll get nowhere else but at Market Fiend Television. And I have many of the traders actually use those customized charts to do trading with. Okay. And so, that gives them an advantage in the market. So, you get the videos. We're almost like a Netflix of the stock market, if you will.
Okay.
We have over 300 some odd posts that includes videos, webinars, where the individual who subscribes can go back and study any particular element of trading or investing that they would like.
Okay. So I can study terms and different things that have happened in the market.
That's correct.
How will that help? How will a video of what happened yesterday help me to make investment decisions today?
How would that? So we're looking at trends.
Yes.
Okay. And so with the trends, we're looking at not a trend that takes place just for a day. We're looking at a trend that takes place over a period of time.
Okay. So what's happening today is not just about today. It's also tomorrow, like the virus, for example.
Right.
We didn't just see it today. We can make predictions about what's going to happen based on what we see today and even what we saw yesterday.
Right. So I can give you an example. So I would say that it was probably February the 20th, or somewhere around that time, that I actually came out. It was around January the 20th. And I actually came out and I told subscribers that we're seeing some selling pressure in the market.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard that today, but there were some congressmen who were caught selling some stock once they found out about this.
Yes.
So we know that this coronavirus was around, going back to December of 2019. And then they acted on that information. And so there's some questions about what's going around. But see, one of the things that we do at Market Fiend TV is we might not know what the news story is going to be, but we do know that there's selling pressure all of a sudden in the market. And so when we see that selling pressure take place in the market, that gives us an advantage. So I just want to go back to something real quick that you said a little bit earlier.
Yes.
So when people ask, is this a good time to buy? I would say, like right here as of today, no, it is not. Why? Because our charts are telling us that the market is going to continue to move even lower. When our charts tell us that there's buying pressure coming into the market, that is when we will then take a long position.
So you're looking at externalities affecting the market.
That's right.
Like those congressmen, men and women who were getting out, they move millions of dollars.
Right. And that move, everything, when you have that type of movement in stock, and there are other folks that get, probably information about what is taking place as well. And then that starts to snowball. Soon as we detect that, the Market Fiend indicator detects that, then, of course, I'm coming out with the video each night, and I'm letting them know, hey, we've got a sell signal here on the S&P 500.
Okay.
And when we get these sell signals or these buy signals, they tend to be pretty accurate.
Yes.
Okay, because they don't come with, just a little bit of noise. There has to be a lot of noise in order for us to get these buy and sell signals.
Right. Okay.
So we say here at Market Theme TV that we don't worry about the news, right? We worry about the charts. Show us a chart and we'll tell you the news, or show us a chart and then we'll let you fill in the news. It doesn't matter what the news is. We focus on the charts.
Okay. Okay. I got you, man. That's some deep stuff. Who is your target audience?
So my target audience really spans many generations, Jake. I mean, you've got individuals who may be in their 30s and they're at a point where they're ready to invest. I've got folks who are near retirement age that are a part of Market Theme TV, and they just want to make sure that they keep their retirement safe.
Yes.
So the last 3 weeks, have basically shaved off about 3 to 4 years of investing. So you can imagine how powerful that is for someone who is near retirement, and then they lose a large portion.
And not just any 3 to 4 years, 3 to 4 powerful years, because since Trump took over the market,
it made history
under Obama, but it continued with a very strong push. I mean, I remember a month ago, people were singing and dancing about their accounts.
Right. There was I can recall someone saying, because technology has it now that many people can just invest from their phones. A lot of these young people, they don't even look at charts. They just hear a stock and they press a button and there was a statement that was made by a young lady who said, I wish I had known that it was this easy to make money, in the stock market. Yes. And as soon as I heard that, that was also a signal that it's time now for a change.
Yes.
Because when the average person gets onto the fact that, stock market is easy, all I got to do is just buy a stock and watch it go up, then things are about to change.
Right. And which brings me to another point. The market, the big fish, if you will, are extremely technologically advanced. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're playing chess, not even with an individual, you're playing chess with a computer.
Right.
So you have computers that are set to, if the market reaches this, if you buy this stock at $5, as soon as it reaches $6.50, sell it.
Right.
And, you have people who are following the market up to that 6, and all of a sudden, you just bought it at $6.50 and now it's dropped.
Right.
So I think it is very important, especially for young investors who are trying to get involved with the market, to have an individual who can give them some guidance.
Right.
And, I'm sure you spent years learning what you've learned.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate, Jake. I started trading back in 2003. And so now this is 17 years for me. And one of the greatest experiences that I had was being able to be in a position with Bear Stearns when it collapsed back in 2008. And so I was able to, I was actually short that stock through put options at that time. And that was a very big trade for me. The media was saying everything was fine, that Bear Stearns, even the president came out and said, we're well capitalized, we have plenty of money. You had Jim Cramer on CNBC saying that, leave Bear Stearns alone, it has plenty of money. But my charts were telling me otherwise.
And now, what have been some of your growing pains? What are some things that taught you lessons?
Well, one of the lessons, I just mentioned Jim Cramer. One of my lessons were that I happened to listen to him when I first began.
Okay.
And I can recall losing $50,000 on a trade that I did with BB.
Wow.
And he was, really supportive of BB. So I went all in right before an earnings. only to find out that, that was not a good investment.
Wow.
And so from that point, it was from that point where I said, I've got to learn everything that I can about this market. And that was when I got into technicals. Because, Jake, it's like this. Investors and traders, we really are the last ones to get the inside scoops on what's going on in the market. By the time it hits the wires, a lot of the people have already made moves on the stock. That is the reason why I started to really focus on the charts, and particularly the market theme indicator, because that lets me know, like you said, when those algorithms start selling at a particular price, I can actually know what that price is. The next time it comes to that price, I can either act on, that particular price level. That's very key. So, and also being able to see where those algorithms are starting to buy, where they're starting to sell. That's key information.
Now, you mentioned a market theme indicator. Is that something that you created?
Yes. So what happens is there are basically many indicators that you can use when you're doing technical analysis. What I've done was I combined 3 of them, put these 3 indicators together, and formed one called the market theme indicator, which has made all of the difference for myself and for my subscribers.
Excellent. Well, Doc, this sounds like some very interesting stuff. I think it can impact some lives. I know that there are a lot of educators who aren't entrepreneurs who would love to become entrepreneurs, especially taking advantage of new technology like Robinhood, where you can make trades for absolutely free.
Right.
What platform do you usually suggest to people?
Well, when folks come and join Market Theme Television, we actually use TD Ameritrade as our base. It was recently bought out by Charles Schwab, but we use the Thinkorswim platform.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Excellent. And what I'm going to do, Doc, first of all, it was great to be able to go through these things. I do want to speak briefly before we end about your real estate.
Okay.
You have a real estate portfolio. Of course, I love real estate. Tell us about your real estate. What's your perspective of it, and how you acquired your real estate?
Yeah, so I'm a real estate, and I call myself a small real estate investor. I have 4 units. All of them are now located in North Carolina.
Okay.
And they're condos. I do have 1 home. My real estate actually started with the home. And that home was actually given to me by my grandmother who passed away.
Excellent.
And when she passed away, what I did was I used that in that home, I used the equity out of that home to then turn around and be able to buy other pieces of real estate. And so I would buy the other real estate for foreclosures.
Right.
And I bought that with cash, right?
Yes.
And then I would pull the equity out of that one, turn around and buy another one. And so that's what kind of how it got started.
So you had real estate in your family?
Yes, my grandmother, she left me a home in North Carolina.
I think that's pretty deep, because unfortunately there are a lot of people who I've interacted with who their parents didn't own a home. They've always lived in an apartment, and now they themselves, even if they're living in a house, they're renting the house from someone.
Right.
But I think that is powerful that your grandmother had real estate and was able to leave that. The Bible says a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children.
Right.
And I think that it's great that you were able to be one of those children's children.
That's right. And I'm working on trying to leave something for my own. So.
Excellent. Well, Doc, so much. I appreciate your time, and keep doing great things, man. I will post your information regarding Market Theme TV for those who are interested, and keep doing great things and helping those young people.
All right. Sure will.
All right. Thanks so much, brother.
All right. Thank you.